Yeah, I didn't edit my description of this video, but who cares? So I just started streaming immediately, well, without having done anything between the last stream. So let's continue. Yeah, what I had done was move this the goal to create this descriptor set, which is no longer a virtual function, to initialize of my frame resource count pipeline characteristic class. That's a mouthful. In the end, it has to be part, I feel, of the engine itself. This is still the user class, user application class. So I don't know where to add it. Then it has to be moved down and into something. There's really much here. It seems to me that it means that it has to be moved to the caller, which is the pipeline factory. Anyway, let's just do some stupid tests. If I call it here, it works. If I call it here, it should still work. And it does. But if I call it below this line, then something should go wrong. That's my guess. Yep. Okay. So this is the as far as it goes. We cannot go further down as a whole. Let's copy the function here, I think, because, well, it has to be removed from the window. Was there as a virtual function. Create a descriptor set. Oh, let's make a C tags. So this thing here, yeah. Yeah, so these vectors are what I want to generate. And that is possible inside inside here. So you cannot move it down. Let's see, what can I not move down? I think the bottom. Oh, that is a good question. I cannot move it down because this probably stores nonsense, aka the get vulkan handle descriptor set layout is not defined yet, aka the M descriptor set is not defined yet. Or not updated. That shouldn't matter. Now here, this is it. M descriptor set is being defined here, for which I need a layout. This can be delayed. What is below it? It's just an update. And I just moved a function from window to here. That's not going to work because it accesses stuff. Let's see what does work. This works. It does not use anything from the window class. And this doesn't, because M descriptor, well, it's still member of the window class. Add a registration for uniform buffer objects that automatically update the descriptor set. I think I'm doing that right now. And I think this doesn't belong here anymore, right? Because this is this would mean that we have only a single descriptor set per window. So this pretty much has to be moved somewhere else. Maybe we should do that first. Oh. Where to store the descriptor set? Where do I store the descriptor set? I need a clear concept of texture. The reason that these two need to be updated is because background texture and sample texture are precisely what is causing the input to the create descriptor resources function, aka what causes this and this. I can get all that information from the shader, but maybe I don't have to. Because it's also mapping to the fact that there exists a texture. Do I see that wrong? The background texture here is a texture, sample texture as well. Maybe this class here contains all the information that I need. Nope. Just two handles. No, a lot more actually. I have all this information. Where does that end up in? What? This is not easy. I don't understand how to continue really. See, I have here I want to generate this information, right? I thought I could do that while pre-processing the shaders, but now I'm not sure anymore. Because I think I was so stupid to think that I could conclude this from the shader. Now why would that not be the case? Pretty sure I concluded that by looking at this, but I'm going to generate this as well. So I do not have that information. It's the other way around. Oops. Nope. The only thing I have is oh. Oh. Oh boy. Let me check. Undo. Redo. Can't save that. Source tests. The texture, the combined texture sampler is also uniform, right? So it has to do with this test, which I didn't finish yet. Here you see how I was planning to pass uniform buffers, just like that. And then all the information of this thing, which I'm just typing this in the shader like this, which then by the preprocessor will be changed to something that can compile, including the declaration thereof. So in this case, this will be the declaration that's generated. And then top position is being replaced by this. But where do I get all this information from? I get that from here. Now this contains a lot of tests. The only thing we use here is the X. And here is the strict layout of that thing. Where's my X? I don't know why, it seems to be expanded here. Float 13. I didn't finish this application, so but the whole member macro is exactly that. Containing class member type and then stringized member name. So what is below here is actually that. I don't see any reason why I would do this. Nope, just delete it. That doesn't seem to match what is below here, I have to admit. You have mat2, unused 1, and then unused 2, which is not there. Unused 2, 4. Now let's make it let's keep an array for now. And then this one, say a double. Why would I call this top position? It's also not, it's all work in progress apparently. But at least it should match, I think. GLSL double, which is just a double. Unused 2, 4. Yeah, well, okay. So now with the double 4. At least now they match, right? Yep. Okay, so I have I'm putting all the information about the struct in this declaration here. And then I'm going to need something like it for my textures, apparently. I'm reading the chat. What's your stream recordings really like? Those I didn't understand much about Vulkan, but just for learning C++. It's most of my job work in C now. Ooh, big difference between C and C++. And I got it in C for a long time before I started with C++. Never looked back. It was like an revelation. So much better, so much more logical. It felt like that the way C++ works is the way I was coding anyway in C. But then you get all the support for it. How long have you been writing C++ for? Started when I was 20. something. Let me think. I really started at 26. So what I just talked about. And I'm 85, so that's 32 years. And before that I did C, I don't know how long. Serious C, not even that long, if you ask me. No, it's the other way around. I started with C at, seriously at C. I started coding at 12. But I started seriously with C, I think when I was 25, something like that. So C++, 4 years later, I think. Oh. Yeah, probably when I was 30 or something. Already knew something, but from that moment on, I coded 7 days a week. Okay, back to the code. So I'm going to need a structure like this for my textures. So the declaration, this is going to be generated, and then here I would type something like I'll turn this into a class, I guess. Does the thing have a name as well then? Before I do that, let's copy it. Okay, so I would like to be able to type background texture double colon something. But what? I'm inclined to make it to make even this part of the preprocessing. So let's say do this. Oh, this is also going to be generators. Location. Oh, that's an not really. It's not. Well, no, it's not really. This is an output of the vertex shader, which is then used in the fragment shader. So yeah, not going to generate that, I guess. Well, then let's not generate this either. Maybe I should do more something like, yeah, this is a texture and I'm calling it background. And it is a sampler texture. It's an image. Is there a difference between an image and a texture? Yes, there is, but I forgot what. So these things were called combined image samplers. If I just literally type that, why not? Combined image sampler, and then the name is background. Okay, maybe this seems dirty, and then I would have to type a lot. every time I access a texture in my shaders, but well, shaders are short, right? Anyway, the dirty part here is that now I literally type in that it is a combined image sampler. I have not enough experience with graphics in general, actually, let alone Vulkan, or rather the other way around, to know if I'm ever going to use something else than a combined image sampler for textures. I don't know. From what I've seen so far, this is the only way you would access a texture. If this is the only way to access a texture and you already type texture, then why would you even type this, right? It means double. So now this string is going to appear a lot of times. It's all strange, but I don't know, maybe flexible enough to change it later. Right, so it is, I don't like it. I mean, it has to be plural because I have another one. The sample texture, whatever it is called. A random Intel name. I thought I was using that here as well. Oh, now here it is called benchmark texture. In the C++ code it's called sample texture. You say 85 there. I don't think I said that. Plus there's an incredible delay between that I told you. I thought it was more than 30 years. Oh, it is. Yeah, well, now I again say maybe it's only 28 years then. I started, I think, like 4 years after. Yeah, it must be 30 then. Whoa, that's late. Okay, 28 years C++. Well, serious. I was doing a PhD, or what is it called, a promotie in that age, and then in physics. And I never did any physics work, so I just started coding after that. So I must be around 30. Okay, I understand the delay then. I have this class called texture, right? I'm just gonna use that. My C++ code uses texture. And I can use it in here as well. Now there is a slight problem here because we have background texture and I have a benchmark texture which is called sample in the C++ code. I think I'm going to rename that to benchmark as well, so let's stick to benchmark. Then I'm going to have this thing here. And that then becomes texture benchmark instead of benchmark texture. Kind of makes sense. And that then means that I have that, well, the user has to define a texture struct which contains these two things. Now I would say what? Because I'm gonna have many textures, but in the end it all has to fit in a shader anyway, and in the shader you have to type something. Shaders are usually small, and let's say this is a typical shader, I don't know, but it's a small thing, and then you have to type something here, and I type that, so I'm gonna end up with just a few elements of this texture thing. Somehow it must make sense, otherwise I don't understand. But it's all pretty new for me too, so well, it feels like it makes sense. So if I'm gonna do it like this, then it means that I need a texture struct, right? So let's add that. And that's going to be like I have, where's my other thing? I have a push constant here, instant data. These are mostly the same. Okay, I'm in here. Let's use push constant because that's the last one that I added. Maybe most up to date. And we're going to create a texture.h. Well, it's definitely not a push constant, so what is it? It's a texture, I don't know. Well, maybe a combined image sampler. On the other hand, this second thing is really just specifying the standard. That was the whole idea. There it is. This is the definition of that macro, and this is just a standard, which is then being used in some namespace when passing it to it's being used as the base class of a specialization that is being defined. Oops. Let's do that. The problem is there are 3 standards, layout standards, and I have no idea. Well, it would be uniform, but maybe, I guess, but no. I'm abusing this totally, so I don't know. Okay, so these have to be the same, and then here this is something, and then I have 2 textures, background, and the other one was called benchmark. And the type, yeah, I don't know, something, type something. Well, it must match this, so let's me put that here as well. Background and benchmark. It's getting increasing feeling of nonsense that this is not that this does not make sense. Well, it's not a float, but well, yeah. And this is also not a push constant. I call it a texture. Strict describing data type and format. Let's see. Yeah, what did you, okay, chat, what did you use C++ for professionally? So many people are in trading. Well, surprise, I didn't. I'm full-time open source programmer, so I'm not being paid for this. One of the earliest thing I did, well, that was C, was work on IRC, almost from the beginning. Internet relay chat. I redesigned the whole protocol, improved it. I don't know what my first serious C++ project was. I don't know. I have to concentrate on this, difficult is enough. I'm struggling with the fact that I designed this to pass shader input variables to the memory layout thereof. Let's say you have a uniform buffer and you write something to the buffer and it is a struct, and then the buffer is copied to the GPU and interpreted as a struct. Then the memory layout must match. That was the whole idea behind it, and now I'm at the point to abusing that design to pass a texture. Now you can argue that the texture is also an input, a shader input, so that's true. You could see it as a variable, but the type is very weird. If you look at the things that I have now, say the float here, Yeah, these are the built-in types. Float, double, bool, int, uint. That's the 5 types that you can use in GLSL, shader language. And then I already have extended that. I thought, pretty sure. Maybe not here. Yeah, here. So these 5 are the ones that you can use in the shader language. And then I already extended them with 4 of them that do not exist in GLSL. But that then I can, already abuse my system of declaring structs with 4 additional types that then can be used for vertex attributes. And the way I'm heading now, it seems that I'm going to add even more to this list, namely texture sampler combinations. I would say why not, but yeah, at some point the code is maybe no longer suited for what it was written for, what I'm using it for then, because it was written for something else. Here's one thing. Each of the things has every variable has a kind. It's either a scalar, vector, or a matrix. How can I fit a texture sampler combination in there? I guess that's a scalar, but it's starting to get dirty. Yeah, I really do not want to combine that. Don't want to combine that. It's just not the intention of this code. View static asserts. Okay, back to here. Well, what I could do is just change the name of the macro, I guess. Could call it texture declaration. And that way kind of make a break from the old code, but still use more or less the same syntax. The idea being that then now here I'm telling myself that I have 2 textures and what the name is, and that they are combined image samplers. And then I have all that information by name, and that might be enough to then generate stuff that I want to generate. Now you could say, is this simpler than the Vulkan API? Because Vulkan has, of course, their own way to do this. And yeah, I think, yes, it is. I think this is more logical. Let's say I still need do I need it? Wait a minute. I was going to say I need a type, but yeah, well, you can only have one member macro, so this has to be renamed as well then. Let's call it in the texture declaration. It's all a bit vague. It's terribly vague, I have to admit. Do I have to rename this as well, I think. I can just call it texture. As you can see, I start from the usage API. I just type things in that I think would be nice to have without having it implemented or even designed yet. So I'm like, I want this to work. That would be nice. I don't even need this really, because I'm not going to pass anything, I think. It's more about the fact that these things exist and what they mean. Let's have another look at what I want to generate. Because now it seems like I'm not really going to generate it, but I'm just going to write it in a different way, maybe. Okay, so where was it? I think it ended up in the initialize function of window. We need this information. So the way Vulkan does it is they force you to type in this stuff in your code. And I don't like it. The main reason I don't like it is because you have to type in, it basically is code duplication. That's my problem. You have to type in binding 0 and binding 1, and you have to remember that this is stored somewhere in a vector at index 0, and you have to remember that it is a combined image sampler, and then you have to repeat and the fragment, and you have to repeat that elsewhere. And that's the code duplication. So in this case, in the shader. Because you have to use the same 0 here for the set, and the same 0 and 1 for the binding, and the same type, and those have to match, and if they don't match you get weird errors that nobody understands. So why not generate that such that you cannot make a mistake? I don't have to type binding is 1 or set is 0, it's just hidden. That would be the improvement. Not only that, I think it appears even somewhere else as well. Those zeros and ones, they appear all over the place. And if you make a mistake, then oops. I think I copied it already, or not. So this is what I want to generate. Okay. Then I'm going back to my texture and put that here. This is what I want to store, but then without storing what can be generated. And this can be generated, this can be generated, this can be generated. This is just the same as that, so this whole thing is generated. This is then implied by the fact that I define it like that. And fragment shader. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, I do not really want to say where it is used, because I already do that by using it in the fragment shader. So I think I'm just going to type it in the fragment shader, and then I'll just have to pick it up from there. I don't want to repeat anything. No duplication. Well, this is no longer struct layout, I think. So wrong name at the very least. Making up names is very important, and also one of the most difficult things that exist in programming. I have had code that I did not understand, and I just couldn't make it work right. And then I renamed all the functions and classes and variables to what I really meant, and suddenly it was simple. You could just read it like English. Oh, that's how it works. So what is this really? Well, make whatever is whatever. So maybe I should change this and then use whatever I use here after the make. What about that? Now the make textures sounds a bit weird. Maybe texture list. And then this becomes also a texture list. I must say I'm still not happy with the idea that this is going to be much smaller, at least I hope so, than the actual number of textures that I have. It's probably more like a texture kind or something like that. I don't know yet, so it's probably some future application that I write will tell me how it should have been done. But if I can get it to work like this without any code duplication, then I think I made some progress. And this, yeah, I don't think I need it, really. Not really, do I? Well, maybe. I'm still generating the textures somewhere. I'll have a vulkan texture. Objects already have a texture here. In namespace vulkan. And currently the user is creating those textures somewhere, initializing them with lots of stuff. Let's see if we can find where I did it. Yeah, so right there, here we have a virtual function, create textures, and the user reading a texture from a disk, saying what kind of texture it is, and then creating it. And then it has to be copied to the GPU. That's a whole page. And then we do the same thing with the sample texture, which is almost the same code. Now, wouldn't it be nice if also this more or less vanished? Yeah, it has a lot of information that is super unclear to me, I have to say. Top of pipe, shader reads, read only optimal. It's basically very hard to design this thing without being a 100% Vulkan expert, I think. So what I was thinking, that maybe my structure can contain these variables, right? And background texture and sample texture. Really does not make any sense. It feels so wrong. I mean, these are definitely, you know, what I'm going to have a lot of in the end. Actual textures, thousands, I guess. And no way I'm going to have a one-on-one relationship between the number of variables hard-coded in a struct and the number of actual textures on my disk. I don't think. So nah. Let's not touch this. This is currently declared like that. So I was playing with the idea to make it like this, texture, or maybe then textures. I don't know, textures, you know, and then remove these two. And then just have these two as members of this struct, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. I can do that now for two, but probably just have to undo it later. That would be waste of time. It's more like a texture type, I think. Like I said before. A kind. I already have another kind, I have a lot of kinds. Gonna have a look at that maybe. With X, so the kinds that I have are image. I have image kinds. So let's have a look. Image kind. My image kind exists of the image kind POD, plain old data. That's all the data that it contains. For the rest, I think it's just functions. And the plain old data is then stored as follows. As defaults, and yeah, obviously you can change them because it's not a const. So you might have many images or textures, but you have only a few kinds. Maybe you can extend the image kind to a texture kind, maybe add something, and then use that as the members of my new texture struct. Because some information is missing for what then I need, like that it is a combined image sampler. And yeah, I'm doubting should I add in which shaders it's being used? I don't think so. But no, that should really, I should just look at the shaders and then see where it is being used. So then I definitely have the same problem. That I need to parse the shaders before I can even generate descriptor set layouts, which was the whole problem to begin with. So maybe I can concentrate on that first, and then look into using that new texture that I just made later-ish. No, I'm gonna need it anyway. Otherwise I cannot parse the shaders. Yeah, it's a combination. I need both. Whoa, okay. Image kind. Oh, this is a list of texture kinds, whatever that is going to be. This is a bit obvious. How about kinds? Make texture kinds. I don't think there's any difference between background and benchmark in terms of kind. Uh-oh. I just don't know. I think I decided I don't need this, right? Feels like total nonsense to have these two in here if they are kinds. Because, well, what you just saw is I expect to have many textures and I don't want to list them all. But if I remove this, I don't know, I make just one of them. I have one name. I don't have a distinction anymore. Then how is the GLSL code going to look? Nope. A window. Well, the idea was I type this to mean the background texture, and that will then generate this declaration. Yeah, and I type that one and it will generate this declaration. That seems to make sense. Although if they are exactly the same type, and they are, or kind, and they are, right? They are exactly the same. The only thing that difference is the binding. Maybe I should use, maybe I should call them texture bindings instead of kinds, because then it suddenly makes sense. I have two of those, and then binding apparently means things, textures that you use at the same time. On the other hand, if a texture, well, doesn't make much sense, I think, for a texture, but if this is a thing that you would use either in the vertex shader or in the fragment shader and you don't know where, then I don't think I need a different binding. So if I use it here and I have a set 0 binding 0 here, can I not use binding 0 here as well then for the other one? Or is that again nonsense? It's probably nonsense. I don't even think I can. No, I cannot. This is really a descriptor set thing. And the descriptor set is for all the shaders together. So calling them bindings might make pretty much sense, actually. In order to make any progress, I guess you can just do that. So what I'm saying then, I have two bindings and I don't say which numbers they have. That sounds good. And I give them a name, background and benchmark. And then here I see which one I'm using. Here I use background and here I use benchmark. And I'm not going to need a declaration in this code. Can delete these lines. Because the fact that, well, what binding they are, what set they are, and the fact that they are uniform simpler 2D things is all stored in the C++ code by the texture prefix. Super vague, but yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up. Now this struct name here is a random name. I can just use whatever I want. It's just a struct, and I'm using that to declare a template specialization by means of this macro. That should be combined. Okay, texture is everywhere, so I don't need the texture anymore. I'm just gonna call this bindings, and then here make bindings. And for now I'm gonna call this still texture, I think. Maybe later I'll change it, because yeah, like I said, many textures. Maybe I should call it binding. So you don't need a name at all. This is clear enough. It's just a bloody list. So what's in a name, right? Member would be nice. No, it's not a member. Entry. I'm gonna use texture. Okay, let's keep this here as a comment for now, so I know what I want to get out of it. This compiles because I'm not including texture.h anywhere yet. Let's see if I broke something in the meantime. I did. Static assert failed. Oh yeah, I changed it. I moved it to 012. I made X an array as well. So how does that work? Offset inside top position of element X is just the start of the array. Must be equal to the offset of types. You have to read right to left, by the way. So this is this is not a type, I think, offsets. It's gonna be a billion offsets, right? Jesus, I mean, I give up. Well, it should work. Think like this. Static assertion fails still. Maybe I should not make an array. I'm already in the middle of stuff, so I'm gonna forget about array for now. Invalid use of a non-static data member. Yeah, that's slightly problematic. I was going to move that. I just want something to compile at the moment, so I'm just going to move it away from here to wherever we are now. This is so going to break. Might as well move it to the same class. This keeps not working. Why? Static assertion failed. Use of undeclared identifier and descriptor sets. Uh-oh. Yeah, yeah, maybe I should just not even try to compile this at the moment. Makes probably more sense not to try to compile the whole application than to comment everything out that doesn't compile at the moment. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Called the non-static member function without an object argument. So like owning window here, something like that. Surely, and oh no, I was just looking at this one, so just M logical device would work. Is that true? Do I have a logical device here? No, I copied this as well. Totally not. Certainly, I do have some kind of use of logical devices here. Logical. Create vertex buffers. That's not what I wanted. Those are not what I wanted. The thing is totally too small. I think using owning window should work. Wait a minute. Let's have a closer look. I remember vaguely that I had that this class already stores the device. No, or not. It doesn't. Okay, in that case, I'm going to just use what I was using. Call to non-static member function without an object argument. Annoying. Fortunately, it is public. This can't be right. If you have owning window pointers all over the place, then something is wrong. But okay, we're just trying to get it to compile. Use of non-static member of M background texture. Yeah, that. Okay, let me think. Let me think. Simpler. I want to keep the code here for now. So let's add a fix me. And then in the meantime, more pointers. Oh. Oh, yeah, what? Right. Descriptor set is needed there as well. It's a definitely problem, I think, that the lifetime of this characteristic thing isn't that long. And I just put it here, but now what? I wanted it to be part of the pipeline, which obviously I have. I just bound it. So that would be the graphics pipeline then. Now you gotta be kidding me, right? Vulkan pipeline. Really? I'm going to ask a question about this. I think it was before I make a bigger mess. I'm typing, does it make sense to store my pipeline handles and descriptor set handles? Yes. See, so does it make sense to store pipeline handles and descriptor set handles in a single struct, aka a one-on-one relationship between every pipeline and one descriptor set? It seems like the descriptor set represents let's say the, yeah, input resources. Do we have output stuff as well? I don't know. All this type of resources. Resources used then. Resources used by a given pipeline. And is therefore tightly bound to that pipeline, or pipeline's definition. I think yesterday I decided to do it, even though it probably has to be a lot more complex. So do it means just do it, right? Nobody's gonna answer at short time, I think. So I'm having a M graphics pipeline. Yeah, this is painful. Or not, yeah, I don't know. Well, no, not really. Okay, so I have a graphics pipeline here, and I used to have M descriptor sets in the same class here, and I just removed it because I thought, well, this is nonsense. This class is the application, and I'm gonna need more than one descriptor set in an application. So, but if I move it inside this struct here, inside this class, that's different. Then I still have only one, but that's because this application is having only one pipeline. This is the graphics pipeline that this application is using, and therefore it has only one descriptor set. That feels a lot more logical. Yes, so let's add to pipeline the descriptor set. Now I have here M descriptor set, which is wait a minute, M descriptor set M handle, yeah. So descriptor set parameters, handle is the unique descriptor set. So I would have to move this whole thing here. Well, not from IMGU. I think it's just stored in this file. M descriptor sets. Yeah, this doesn't belong here. You see? No, that's what I mean. Doesn't. But it could belong here temporarily because I don't have the pipeline yet. So as soon as I have the pipeline, I should move this thing to that pipeline. Okay, maybe we need it here temporarily and then move it to the vulkan pipeline as soon as that is created. So let's copy it and then put this in pipeline. This is so dubious, but okay. It is gonna do it, right? For now. So this is the descriptor set. Now it's private and I need to move something to it. So at some point we need a new function. Set descriptor set. And it's going to be something that moves stuff. Which doesn't compile yet, so let's add it. I need a... I just needed... What was it? Operator and us move assignment operator or something like that. Well, let's call it a right hand side. Yeah, whatever. And now we have to call this, of course, at some point, probably at the same moment that are you kidding me, right? The thing already has a move. And that is probably being used to move it in place already also haven't created it. So maybe I just need to add it to this constructor, and then we don't need it. So the default move constructor is still going to call. No, now I need a move constructor. Let's add that as well. Might as well. I don't need the move assignment anymore, but well. Move constructor. How do you call that? Original? Nah. It fits. So where was I? Pipeline, yeah, right. I went back too far. So I need to change this constructor to add the descriptor parameters. Well, that thing exists of unique stuff, so there has to be a move as well. What do you think? This is not going to compile, of course, because this constructor now has an extra parameter, but at least then we will see where that is needed. Oops, I forgot to return this. Start with that. What? Explicitly default. Yeah, does not return something. Return this. I don't know. Let's compile it again to see the errors. Now what do we have? Unknown type name. Descriptor set parameters. No, I'm not sure about the namespace anymore. Just vulkan. So, namespace vulkan, yeah. Explicit default constructor is implicitly deleted. Ouch. Oh, that's gonna be complicated then. And the descriptor set has no default constructor. Maybe I should just add one then, because yeah, I'm gonna move it into it. It used to have one. I just added a constructor and then, yeah, okay, I'll just add one. We still need this one. More errors. No matching constructor for initialization of, yeah, that was what I was looking for, and so it happens here. Candidate constructors, no error constructor for initialization of same thing. So this is 295. This is a different line number. So it seems to be a problem in two places. So this is creating it. Yeah, pipeline is being created here as a unique pipeline, and then it should be moved, I guess. So at the end here, standard move pipeline. And it is being passed, have new datum of move new pipeline synchronously, which happens to be a synchronous task, move new pipelines, which takes owning window, and then that can be right. That's a constructor, idiot. Yeah, I would have to look at the type. I want to know what the type of the datum is here. So I need to have to look at the type of this thing and then go to the base class, I think. So I do need to go to move new pipelines, but then up. And then here's the type of the datum. Or this one. I think this one. Go to task DQ. Yeah. So base and datum is the second parameter. So the datum is a pair of the vulkan pipeline, which I changed the constructor of, and the unique pipeline handle. Slightly surprised or confused because I thought that this struct already contained a unique pipeline handle. Or not, maybe just a handle. Let's have a look again. Yeah, just a handle. Oh, right. Well, not even, but sort of. So what we do here is we create that pipeline struct here, and also move the vulkan handle as a unique pointer. Now this is a temporary. I'm slightly worried about the moving part. I guess this creates the pair, which then exists of a pipeline. Let's see, have new datum is defined as, oh, that's a move. Okay, that's good. I guess we don't have another one. But okay, if this is going to be moved, then it's going to call the move constructor or the move whatever of the on pipeline. But that has to work anyway, because we can only move. Thing that I added, what is it? Descriptor set parameters. That thing can only be moved. It cannot accidentally be copied. So it's going to be either working or not compiling, I guess. Okay, so then I need to add a third argument here, being that descriptor set parameter thing, which I'm sure I don't have. Where are we anyway? We are in the pipeline factory generate state. Don't you love it? Oh, I did get an answer. The answer is no. But I don't think that storing a descriptor set and a pipeline handle together makes sense. Well, very useful answer. Still don't know what to do then. To do. Bloody pipeline is created from multiple descriptor set layouts. Hello. Didn't see you. Right, I did get a real answer now, and it's definitely more complex than having a single descriptor set per pipeline. Much more complex. But yeah, like I said before, you have to start somewhere. That is, no, I'm not sure at all anymore if it makes sense to even store them in the pipeline as a start. No, I don't think so. So I have to back up. I also have to eat lunch, I think. Should do that first. Yeah, I'm going to eat, so I'll be back later.